Hello, this is Minder Chen. I'm a professor of Management Information Systems at Martin V. Smith School of Business and Economics, CSU, Channel Island. Today we're going to discuss value proposition design. This is part of the entrepreneurship video series. Value proposition design is looking at two building blocks of a business model. These two building blocks are value proposition, showing here on the left, and the customer segment, showing on the right. We're going to study how these two building blocks fit each other and zoom into some of the detail in the value proposition and the customer segment. First, let's look at the value proposition. Definition. Value proposition describes the benefit customer can expect and receive from our product and or service. And value proposition often are a bundling of products and services that create value for a particular customer segment or customer segments. And this is based on Alex Ostwarth's books called Value Proposition Design, which is a sequel to his book called Business Model Generation, which we have discussed the business model generation and business model canvas previously. And just a quick review of the basic building blocks for a business model based on the business model canvas. First is the customer segment. Customer segments are groups of people or organizations that a startup company aims to reach and create value for with a dedicated value proposition. And channel, another building block, describe how your value proposition can be communicated and delivered to a particular customer segment through communication and, more importantly, the distribution and the sales channel. Customer relationships outline what type of relationship that you can establish with your customer in a particular segment. It describes how customers are acquired and retained. Key activity are the most important activity that a startup company need to perform to be successful. And the key partner, okay, you can strike out this part. A key partner show the network of suppliers and partners that bring in external resource and maybe performing some activities for you. Basically, you may outsource an activity to your key partner or acquire some external resources that you need from the key partner. Key resources are the most important asset that are required to offer and deliver all the previous described element, including your activities and how you establish your channel, etc. On the profitability side, the money side, we have to look at the cost structure. And you have to understand all the costs incurred in order to operate your business. And also, you need to look at the revenue side. The revenue streams result from offering your value proposition to a particular customer segments. And it is how a startup company create and capture value with a price that some customer are willing to pay. Profit, which is really not a building block, but profit is calculated based on the revenue minus the cost. That's your profit. And eventually you want your businesses to be profitable. So in this business model canvas, we can see 9 building blocks, and at the center of it is the value propositions. And you could have more than one value proposition listed here. On the right-hand side here is the customer segments. So you can also have multiple segments of customers. And potentially you can have a value proposition target several customer segments. And on the other hand, you can have one customer segment which are targeted by more than one value propositions. And in the value proposition design, we're really looking at the interactions or connection or the fit between value propositions and customer segments. So on the left-hand side, we try to create value. It's the value of your products and services that benefit your customer. They are designed to attract customers. On the right-hand side, we look at some of the characteristics of the customer we try to target. And we make some assumption of our customer. We need to observe their behavior, reaction to our value proposition, and need to verify that in the real marketplace. So the bottom line is that our value proposition describe the benefit customer can expect from our products and services. So value proposition is really at the center of the business model canvas. And Alex Osterwald created another canvas called Value Proposition Canvas, which basically takes out the value propositions here and the customer segments on the right-hand side, the two building blocks, and zoom in and study the value proposition and customer segment in greater detail and try to see whether there's a fit between the two building blocks. So in this lecture, we're going to focus on the detail of the value proposition and the customer segments, and which certainly are considered two most important building blocks in a business model and illustrated in the business model canvas. So the detailed components of the value proposition and the customer segment, one on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side, is illustrated here. The value proposition is illustrated as a value map. The customer segment is described based on the so-called customer map or customer profile map. The value propositions can be broken down into three elements. One is the product and or services. Another is the game creator, how your product and service create games to your target customer, and how your product and service would relieve pain for your customer. It's called pain reliever. And on the right-hand side, customer can be described in terms of the pains or frustration they feel, or some of the gains or positive outcome they expect. And instead of focus on customer, in return, in this methods, we try to analyze the jobs that the customer expect to be done. And that's called job to be done analysis, which we're going to spend some time to discuss it pretty much right away. So if you look at the diagram, we can almost translate that value proposition canvas into a pitchable sentence. The pitchable sentence would read as the following: our product and services helps customer segments who want to get a certain job to be done, and when they use our product and service, it will reduce, avoid, or elevate some customer pains, and potentially may increase or enable customer to receive some positive gains, bring some pleasure, etc. And you can certainly qualify it or further describe it, unlike some of our competitors' competing offering. This is how we differentiate with them. So you can state it in a pitchable sentence to describe the value proposition canvas, such as this one, and translate it into a simple sentence laid out here. And the value proposition canvas does not tell us where to get started if you want to pursue a startup business. And in general, we found that startup can initiate it based on a technology first kind of solution. Someone who are familiar with certain interesting emerging technology came up with some invention, innovation, or technical breakthrough, and then they would kind of build a prototype to illustrate the value propositions, and eventually try to find customer and gain insight from the customers in terms of whether the proposed value proposition or technology can solve customers' problem in terms of elevate their pains or actually provide some gains for the customer, or try to help them to get certain job done. And so this is kind of a technology looking for a problem to solve. On the other hand, which is more like the design thinking approach, you start with the market or the problem that some customer in certain segment may have in terms of job to be done, the pains they have, or the gains that potentially you can deliver. And then you try to build some prototypes to kind of prove a concept, to make sure you understand the customer's needs. And through that prototype, eventually you want to acquire or develop the technology and acquire necessary resource in order to deliver and develop and deliver the final product / services in order to address the problem, solve the problem or the needs in the marketplace. So this is actually a problem, try to find the solution. The technology push is a solution looking for a problem, and we call this technology push. The market pull is a problem looking for a solution. To some extent, either way you get started will be fine, but you need to start somewhere. A lot of time it's an iterative process. You constantly shifting between market and technology and try to find a good fit. So let's look at the customer profile map. And the first component in it is jobs to be done. And there are three types of main job types. One is look at the functional job. Second is the social jobs, the social aspect of the job. And the third is sometimes called emotional job, and it could be sometimes referred to as a personal job. And a lot of time, particular engineer pay attention more to the functional job and ignore the social aspect of the job and the emotional aspect of the job, which are increasingly become important features that your product or service need to offer to attract customers to use your product or services. And so that job to be done is best kind of described in the following way, that customer don't just buy your product or acquire your services. They hire the product or services to get a job done. And there's a famous example that people try to help us to understand job to be done, is that people don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill such as this one. That's kind of a solution. However, what they really want is they want a 1/4-inch hole. So if you have a different solution which will deliver a 1/4-inch hole, then you can come up with different type of solution. And so a 1/4-inch drill may not be the only one. That kind of broaden your option in terms of looking for solutions. So always ask your customer who are purchasing your product or receiving your service, like what exactly they want your product, they hire your product for, and how they're going to use it. There's some reference which help you to understand this job to be done concept. Okay. So once again, it's Theodore Levitt, which is a famous professor of marketing at Harvard Business School, saying people don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill, they want a 1/4-inch hole. So you really try to understand the basic problem that the customer tried to solve, which is the job they try to get done, and then why, and that's why they're buying your product or acquire your service. And each job has functional, emotional, and social dimensions, which we need to pay attention to. So if we break down a job, one is the main job to be done, which contain the functional aspect and the emotional aspect. The emotional aspect can be personal or social. And there are some other related job to be done associated with the main job, which also has the functional, emotional aspect. And we can also create a so-called job statement. For instance, we will say something like manage personal finance at home. Manage is the action, a verb. Personal finance is an object of actions. It's something that the user has to deal with. At home is kind of a contextual clarifier, which kind of describe in what setting that people have to get the job done. And using the concept of so-called job to be done, for instance, allowed us to kind of open up to new ideas. And for instance, if we need to kind of deliver medicine, the old solution can be pill or shot. But the new solution, which can be some skin patches, which can also deliver certain medicine. And the job to be done is to deliver some medicine to a patient. And another example, the job to be done in military application is try to detect enemy at night. We can use flares to kind of lighten up the sky, and so you can see where the enemy is hiding. but we can kind of develop night vision goggle, maybe infrared, whatever, so we can see through heat sensing. We can actually see the movement of the enemy at night. So flare is just one of the solution. Night vision technology can actually deliver and get the job to be done probably much better. Because flare, to some extent, you may actually reveal your location to the enemy. So this is why thinking about job to be done kind of broaden your options potentially and encourage you to come up with creative solutions. And a good example to describe the job to be done is a case that Professor Christensen's that Clayton Christensen at Harvard has given. You can look at this document or watch this video. And it's about studying milkshake for a fast food store, probably McDonald's, I believe. And this fast food store restaurant hired the consulting firm to find out why people are buying milkshake, which means what kind of job people are buying milkshake for. And it turned out that they sell, through field study, they found out that actually the restaurant sells lots of milkshake during the morning breakfast period, and then when they kind of interview the customer and found out that there's certain attribute of the milkshakes that make it very attractive as a breakfast item. First of all, it kind of milkshake is kind of filling. Also, you can use a straw to kind of sip the milkshake out, so it doesn't create any kind of messy condition in your car. And so it turned out to be, instead of just like a dessert, it's actually it's hired almost like a breakfast item. And that finding, that insight actually allowed the restaurant to kind of develop the milkshake geared towards this consumption pattern of their customer, which they was not aware of before the study. So go and look at this kind of milkshake case study, which is kind of quite interesting. It can help us to understand this so-called job to be done analysis approach. Here are just a few more document video that help us to understand this so-called job to be done concept. Okay, instead of analyzing customer, we're analyzing the why customer is buying our product or services, and the why means that what kind of job that trigger their purchase of the product or service. So the job, not the customer, is the fundamental unit of analysis, okay, which allowed us to come up with innovative way to deliver to kind of help the customer with the job, break away from the traditional solution. This is another literature called Customer-Centered Innovation Map based on this job to be done analysis. And other than the various aspects of a job, such as functional aspect, the personal, social aspect, or emotional aspect of the job, we can break down the job to be done into multiple steps, which is really a process. When people hire a product to get a job done, they have to go through a whole process, which can be break down into steps. Each of the steps is a refinement of the process, which may describe people's planning of what to buy, and then making the purchase, receiving the purchase, install the product, set it up properly, learn how to use it, and understand the interface, moving it around, storing it, maintaining it if necessary, keep it up to date, or find replacement component. Or once the product is obsolete, and they actually have to dispose it or recycle it. So this is kind of the kind of steps that can be used to describe in the job process map, if we may call this the process map. Okay. And then in each of the steps, we can kind of analyze what kind of outcome people expect out of the steps. So let's look at the second component, which is the pain or frustrations. It's a good starting point to look at the kind of undesirable outcome, problems, or the obstacle, pains that the customer are facing, or certain risk or undesirable potential outcome that the customer tried to avoid. If you can address those risks in terms of reducing the risk, overcome the obstacle, or solving the problem, then there's a good fit. Okay. So you want to clearly differentiate jobs, pains, and games, and describe them as concrete as possible when you try to fill this kind of customer profile map. Customer gain, pains and games. Customer gain, some are required, which means you definitely need to deliver. Some kind of expected. Certain things are kind of desirable but not necessary. Certain games may be unexpected but could be a pleasant surprise if you can deliver it. We can create and prioritize the customer profile map. We first have to select the customer segment, and then we create a list of jobs, pains, and games related to potential value propositions. And then we can prioritize the importance of the jobs and the pains and the game, which allowed us to focus on the most important job and most urgent issue or pains the customer suffer. We can kind of do some simple calculation, find out the importance of the jobs and how serious are those pain, which means unsatisfaction. Unsatisfied situations that the customer may experience, and how frequent those situations may occur. And if you do the math, then you can potentially calculate the potential opportunity. If it's an important job, a lot of dissatisfactions, and it occurs frequently, then there's a really good opportunity that you're onto something that potentially has a good market for it. That this allowed us to identify those so-called white space opportunities that for a good startup. Let's look at the value map. The value map on the left-hand side of the value proposition canvas. The most important one is the product and or service. A lot of time our value proposition is really a bundling of product and services, and it helps our customers to complete their functional, social, or emotional jobs, and and help them to satisfy their basic need or address their frustration or pains. And so the value proposition has to be kind of specific to certain customer segment, and as well as their jobs, pains, and games. If we look at first product and service, product and service can be physical and tangible goods, such as manufactured goods, and can be intangible products, such as copyrights, intellectual property, services that we render. And it could be digital products, such as streaming video and like Yelp's online recommendations, and could be financial products for investment fund, insurance, etc. Then we can kind of assess the relevancy of those product and services related to the potential customer segment. We want to look at our product and service in terms of how they alleviate specific customers' pain, which is called pain relievers. And we focus on pains that matter to the customer, particularly their extreme pains, which means they're willing to pay for it. Okay, and you try not to do too much. Okay, then if you try to do too much, try to please everybody and try to address all the pains, you may be out of focus. Focus is very important. It's always a good strategy to follow. Game creators, we want to understand customers' expectations, desire, and needs, and you certainly want to focus on their basic need, make sure that's fulfilled, and then certainly whatever they desire, and if you can deliver, that would be great. And you even want to deliver some pleasant surprise to the customers. Once again, the game creator may create functional game, social game, emotional game, etc., or even just cost savings. Okay, and then you try to assess the relevancy of those game that can be created related to the customer. Let's look at the step that we'll recommend you in terms of creating the value map. But before that, let's kind of review the steps that's recommended in terms of creating and prioritizing the customer profile. You would select a customer segment that you want to profile, and then you will create a list of jobs, pains, and gain for that particular customer segment related to your potential value propositions. Be aware that we may not have a detailed value map created yet. And then you would prioritize the jobs to be done, the pains and the gain, by rating each one of the list of job pains and gain using a scale, say 1 to 10. And once that has been done, you can come to this process and take the steps recommended here in terms of creating the value map. The first step is to list product and services for certain customer segment, just like when you create the customer profile, you have the value proposition in mind. When you create the value map, you have some customer segment in mind. And once you identify a list of product and service, usually it's a bundling of product and services, then you will identify the pain reliever offered by the product and service. And after that, you will identify game creator offered by the product and services. And after all of that, then you would start to rate by the order of importance in terms of product and service. Second is the pain relievers. Third is the game creator regarding to how well they address the customer needs and wants. You would rate this three aspect using a scale, say 1 to 10. If you're facilitating a group of design team members in conducting this process, you need to use your facilitation skill and following some kind of creative problem-solving process that we discussed earlier in completing this process. The best practice in creating the value proposition canvas is list just a bundling of product and services that together form a value propositions to a specific customer segment. So you try to be more focused and try to target certain customers. And you also want to explain your value proposition in terms of how they're going to help the customer to alleviate their pains or deliver some games, such as help customer to save time and have a really well-designed product, etc. What kind of unique feature you offer. Eventually, when we talk about our product and service, we need to be realistic. We need to a lot of time trade-off amount, good quality, fast delivery of the service or product, and or very affordable or cheap product or service. It's often argued that in terms of good, fast, and cheap, you can only pick two, which means that if you want something good and also deliver fast, it probably would not be cheap. If you want something cheap and good, it probably would take time to deliver. If you want something really of high quality, also cheap, and can be delivered very fast, here they actually calling it you're daydreaming. Okay. Personally, I don't feel that this area to have something good, fast, and cheap is dreaming. It potentially can be achieved, but you really need to realistic. Sometimes you do need to trade off between, like, okay, if you really want something fast, like fast food restaurant, you also want it to be cheap, then we're not going to be able to give you a gourmet burger. That would be difficult, if not impossible, to achieve. Okay, so again, you need to have some focus in terms of the customer you try to target, and also the features that you try to deliver, and make sure that that address the needs of the customer that you target. Once you have your value proposition canvas, you need to go through a kind of a series of experiment and research and real development and real go out and talk to your customer to find out whether there is a fit. There are actually 3 stages of fits. One is called problem solution fit, which means the problem you identify and the solution you come up with, is there a fit? A lot of times, just go out and talk to your customer in terms of your idea solutions and whether that is actually addressing the real needs would be sufficient to answer this question. The next step is try to find out the product market fit. At this stage, you will have a prototype, sometimes we call it a minimum viable products, that can be sold in the marketplace, and to see how it is received by the marketplace. And once you find the product market fit, then you can start scale your business model and sell it to a broader market, and to see that whether you can attract enough customer buying your product and bringing enough revenue to cover your cost. And once you get there, that's called business model fit. You're testing pretty much the whole business model building block in your business model canvas, and to see whether the complete business model will work. And this is called business model fit at the third stage. So the three stages, once again, starting with, remember this, problem solution fit, product market fit, and last not the least, the business model fit. And let's use Airbnb as example. Airbnb is considered a kind of a multi-sided platform or two-sided platform. In this case, you have two types of customer. One is the kind of traveler, the end user who need a place to stay. The other at Airbnb, they call it host. Hosts are people who rent out a space, a room, or sometimes a whole house to a traveler. And so that's another customer segment. You need to be able to come up with the value proposition to address to the travelers and to the host. Okay. To the traveler, it could be a cheaper alternative to hotel. But Airbnb, actually, if you go to the website, you'll find out a lot of time they emphasize that special experience that you have when you stay in someone's home, that you can interact with the host and kind of travel and experience what the local enjoyed. And to the host, it's not just bringing the extra income, but also the value proposition could be you got a chance to meet with people from all over the world. There are 10 characteristics of great value proposition. We're going to just quickly go over that, and you kind of read it yourself in detail. And the great value proposition is part of your great business model. And you try to focus on the jobs, the pain, and the gain, and particularly the job and the pain, in my opinion, that matter the most to customers. So you need to kind of prioritize them. You try to focus on the unsatisfied job, unresolved pain, or unrealized gain. Target few jobs. Focus, once again, pains and gain, but do so extremely well. Then you stand out. Go beyond the functional job and try to address emotional and the social job, which are increasingly important. And also align your effort with how customer measured success. Okay, and focus on the jobs, pains, and gain that a lot of people have, and that at least some of them are willing to pay a lot of money for. That will help you to bring in real money, the revenue. And try to create something that you can differentiate from the competition on jobs, pain, and gain that the customer care about. You want to outperform competitions substantially, at least on certain dimension, like I'm the cheapest, I'm the fastest, I'm the best in certain aspect. And make sure that it's your startup ideas or product or service are very difficult for people to copy. The process of creating business model, we kind of finished the introduction of so-called value proposition canvas, which is really part of the business model canvas. We kind of zoom into the business model canvas and kind of takes out the value proposition and the customer segment, and then zoom into those two building blocks, and then try to find how this two building block can kind of match and fit to each other. And the process of creating the business model is first, it's a process, okay? And in your business model, you have a lot of assumption about your customers job to be done, customer pains, and then also some of the feature you think the customer would love to have. So you need to kind of build your business model, test some of the underlying assumption by validating that with the customer, and eventually based on the customer feedback, you will make some necessary changes. Okay, you're not rewarding sales pitch and tested claim, or just because you have flashy teams or advisors, and also talk about the market which is not validated. So get out of the building, talk to the customer, get a feel of the markets while you're trying to develop your business model, and constantly revising it based on the real feedback from the field. Last, not the least, I'll encourage you to go and look at this really wonderful video of an international business model competition a few years ago, and the first place winner is a team developed some kind of baby monitors. When you watch the video, pay particular attention to how they had gone out to actually test their kind of hypothesis in their business model, and based on the feedbacks from the field and how they kind of revise their business model more than once, and eventually be able to come up with a kind of a validated business model canvas. So it's a great presentation. Pay attention to their process and how they kind of revise their business model according to the market feedback. Okay, that's it about value proposition design, and I hope you enjoy it. And that's all. We'll come back and talk about customers' development model next time. See you soon. Bye-bye.